Joining us now is Chief Tom Tidwell of the U.S. Forest Service. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
In your capacity as Chief of the U.S. Forest Service, why is climate change such an important issue to you?
Well, the changing climate for the last couple of decades, but especially recently, it's altering the forest ecosystem, our grassland ecosystems. Those ecosystems that the majority of Americans rely on provide clean air, clean water, recreational settings. And so our challenge is to understand these effects and then to adjust our management. For instance, with the fire seasons that you hear about all summer long now, we're seeing such erratic, severe fire behavior, which is driven by the change in climate. The other example is with insects and disease, with the bark beetles. We've always had bark beetle infestations, but today we're seeing levels of infestation that exceed anything we've seen in the past, resulting in tens of millions of acres of trees that have been dying over the last few years. So our challenge is to understand what we can do differently to manage these forests so that we can maintain the services that the public relies on.
Pretty important issues there.
It's very important.
Now, you're moderating this plenary on building climate solutions. Why do you think this is such an important theme for the conference this year?
Well, what I like about this is it gives us an opportunity to talk about the things that we can do to be able to mitigate the impacts. The things like to ensure that we're maintaining healthy forests, making sure that we're doing whatever we can to be able to maintain forested ecosystems, not only on the public land, but also on the private land, where the majority of the forests in this country are on private ground. And today, those forests in this country, they sequester 14% of the CO2 emissions. So imagine if we didn't have that forested ecosystems in this country, the impacts, to our air. So this idea about building solutions, it's what we can do to maintain our forests, to make sure that they provide that clean air. Also, the benefits, the opportunities for renewable energy that can come from the biomass that needs to be removed from these forests to be able to maintain their health.
I don't think most of us knew that a lot of the forest land is on private property, as you said.
Yes.
Now, what message do you think, or do you hope at least, this conference delivers to the folks who are attending it?
Well, I think the take-home message for me, I want everyone here to understand the importance of forests, not only in this country, but throughout the world. And for instance, with the amount of CO2 emissions that are sequestered. But in addition to that, it's the water it's provided, the water that's filtered. For instance, 60 million Americans rely on the water that comes just off the national forests. And the national forests in this country only cover about 20% of the forested land. So it's essential that we maintain those forests for the clean air and the clean water that they provide.
Is there something you're most looking forward to from the conference this year?
Well, what I look forward to at these conferences is to hear other ideas. And I'm here, of course, to be able to share what we're doing so that folks understand that, but at the same time to be able to listen to what they're thinking about. Because as we move forward with this, it's essential that we continue to develop our science. Our research and development branch of the Forest Service has been studying the effects of climate change on vegetation for over 30 years. So we know a lot, but that being the case, it's essential, especially with the rate of change that we're seeing now, that we continue to find new innovative ways and continue to develop the science and then apply that science. So these conferences are great to be able to bring people together to have that discussion. So not only can we learn together, but then explore what we need to be working on next.
The new idea is probably the biggest thing you can get out of this.
It's the new ideas, and with an understanding that we still need to make the investment in science. Even though we've spent a lot of time over the last couple decades, it's essential that we maintain that level of investment to really understand what we need to be doing, apply that science, to the landscapes, and then to learn from that, and then be able to continue to move forward.
Sounds exciting. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your time today.